Hello, I'm Father James Kubicki of the Apostleship of Prayer with some thoughts about chapter 11 in John's Gospel, the long story of how Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead. St. Ignatius Loyola encouraged people to use their imaginations when they prayed over gospel scenes, and I encourage people to not only imagine the scene, but what was going on in the heart of Jesus. In this passage, we see two very strong movements in the heart of Jesus. In verse 35, which is the shortest verse in Scripture, only 2 words in English, we read, Jesus wept. His heart was moved with pity for the people who were crying and mourning outside the tomb of their relative and friend Lazarus. But why did Jesus weep when he knew he was going to bring Lazarus back to life? It's as though this moment of human sorrow embodied all the sorrows of humanity. But in verses 33 and 38, we see another emotion or movement in the heart of Jesus. It says that he became perturbed and deeply troubled. Perturbed means to be agitated and even angry. Jesus is angry. But at what? At death. It's as though Jesus, looking at the display of human sorrow and suffering in front of him at the tomb of Lazarus, was angry and thought to himself, it didn't have to be like this. You were not created for death and the sorrow it brings. Sin caused death. And I think we see Jesus here angry at sin and the death it brought. As we enter more deeply into the mind and heart of Jesus, the thoughts and feelings of Jesus, we can share both his pity for poor suffering humanity and his anger at sin. If we share that anger, we'll be less likely to give in to the temptation to sin that comes our way.